All right, it is 7 o'clock. So we'll call the public hearing to order on the Capital Roads Program bond. You can either get to yours, Kevin, to read it, or you can get back to the beginning, or you can give a quick summary if you want, but it's, I guess, background wise, we've been funding out of current taxes, our roads, capital roads projects for the, other than Academy Hill, for quite a few years. So we're looking at possibly financing larger projects every so often by using a bond instead of paying for them out of current taxes every year. It also gives us a little bit of a cushion. Kevin, you might be better explaining the whole state conundrum we're in right now.
Right. So the email I sent to agenda distribution gave a few bullet points.
Yes.
Because the memo that I sent was pretty lengthy and explained all of the nuances. But the short version of it is we're proposing a bond for up to $900,000 to fund our capital road program. That potentially includes major projects like Hopkins Hill Road, River Road Sidewalk, and or the final section of Academy Hill Road. So that $900,000 will take care of all of those projects if the decision by the board is to use the full 900,000. You can use less than that to take care of things. Like if we only did Hopkins Hill, that were bonded to reduce the immediate burden on property taxpayers. That would potentially reduce the tax increase from 9.08% down to 3.52. A lot of that large increase for next year has to do a lot with our education budget. Strategically combining borrowing for large projects with an annual property tax revenue for smaller ones may become a sustainable long-term funding strategy. So that's essentially what this is exercising an option to explore.
And other than Academy Hill Road and the fire truck, we don't have any other debt.
Yeah,
Correct.
the lower part of Academy Hill Road, when that was done, that was debt that we incurred, right. And then we have leftover from one of the fire trucks that we own. It's not compared to our annual expenditures, a very small portion of our budget. We have capacity for bonding. And lastly, the bond provides flexibility amid the state level uncertainty, including a potential people's veto of the budget. That would suspend state funding to municipalities, including education. We'll know more about that after June 18th when the signatures are due. So it's kind of one of these unknowns. And we would hold off on any capital road project bonding until we know if this scenario is even in effect. But it's kind of by approving this bond, is it providing a tool for the select board to have in their tool belt going into this next fiscal year.
Right. And if this, if they collect the signatures, we would not be able to get any revenue from the state until after the November election. And if that gets if the votes positive on the ballot question, then we wouldn't get money at that point. It would be not until they could get a new budget.
That is correct.
So we're possibly looking at not getting state revenues for
this fiscal year
for a long time. Yeah.
Yep. And for the town of Newcastle, it's around 350,000. Our schools for Newcastle receive about 400,000. So that's 750. And I haven't even taken in, that's just, I'm sorry, that was municipal share. There's also money we get reimbursed for homestead exemption, and there's money we get reimbursed for Betty. So I would say it's close to $900,000 of revenue that we wouldn't see in this next fiscal year if first the signatures get collected and then it passes in November.
Right.
We would be on so this is a way to sort of hedge our bets, if you will, or provide some reduce our risk.
All right. And do we have anybody want to ask questions or Wanda?
So I just, are you to stand up? Okay, so I'm Wanda Wilcox from 28 North Nyack Road. And I have some real concerns because there is so much uncertainty with the state and the federal right now. I mean, I think we all know that. It's pretty scary out there. So I was looking back at the last few years of budget and public works over since FY 24. Public Works had a budget of over 662,000 with 855 plus 855 in capital roads. This year, we're looking at 975,000 for Public Works alone. That's a $313,000 increase in like 3 years. And we're looking at capital project roads has stayed pretty stable at 900,000. But my concern is that, you know, at what point our taxes just went up last year. I had a lot of people that I know that had real concerns. I mean, I'm lucky I can pay my taxes. I don't like it, but I'm lucky enough I can. But a lot of people are struggling right now. And at what point does this town be responsible enough to tap our brakes and say, whoa, maybe we need to hold off on some of these capital projects and stuff, just until we see what the world is gonna do out there. We've done a lot of work. I don't think we have any roads in this town that are gonna fall into the drink, and, you know, granted, it's nice to get them done, but it's costing us a ton of money. And my concern is if we keep upping taxes and keep going the way we're going, we're not gonna have extra money in our pool. And we're gonna have people who can't afford to live in Newcastle, and that is damn scary, and that is damn sad. But I really feel like we're getting to the point that if taxes keep going up, people are gonna bail out of this town. You know, and right now, the housing market's good. So it'd be a good time to sell and maybe look for another town that doesn't have the same, you know, not that you can find a house there. But I just feel like, you know, from FY 24 to FY 26, Public Works, without even, like I said, without even talking about the capital roads, has gone up $313,000 in a year in a year. And I think that is just outrageous.
Well, you remember why though? It went up so much.
Well,
Because of the-
114 of it went up because of the snow plowing, and plus we renewed the
Right.
contract. I
Right.
get that.
Right.
So, okay, it's gone up, but
Right.
maybe we need to tap our brakes on the capital roads to offset that.
Yeah.
Because maybe we have to spend that for our public works, but do we have to do all these capital road projects right now? I don't see any roads that are that desperate that we couldn't tap our brakes and wait and see what the state and the feds are gonna do. Because something's gonna happen, but right now we don't know, and it could get really bad. That's just my.
Okay, no, thank you. That's it. Roger?
I just feel like, you know, we've gotta fix our roads, there's no doubt about that. But our schedule to do that is way too aggressive. I mean, when you consider the amounts that we're spending. And I think we need to slow that progression down and live within our means. We used to have tax surplus money we put in a capital reserve fund. When was the last time we've done that? And taxes last year went up, this year they're going up. There's no money left to do anything else. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think any of these projects need to be done now. I think we should put a hold on those projects or take some money away from the other capital road projects if one of these is more important than those. And live within our budget and live within our means and really slow that progression down, because we're way too aggressive on how these roads that they're fixing up. I mean, they're not just fixing the road up, they're making boulevards out of these roads. I mean, they're Taj Mahal roads here we're building, they're not just fixing them up a little bit. And I mean, on these roads like the West Hamlet Road, how many houses are on that road? And we've spent a fortune out there. And how many houses are out there? You don't need that class of a road for a few houses. It's not like it's the main turnpike or Route 1. And I mean, and we put a small fortune in fixing those roads up like that. And Hassan Avenue is another example. And I mean, it's just way more than we need to do. But that's what's been going on, and it's costly. And so if that's the schedule you want to keep, I think we should slow down how much work we do and get those figures under control and not just let them have $200,000 or $300,000 increases in the capital budget as we go along here, because it's, you know, we can't count on any federal help, no. I mean, with the present administration down there, God help us if we get a hurricane that devastates the state or something. Cause, you know, FEMA's gone, he's done away with them and laid off all these people and closed all these agencies. And so the federal government is absolutely gone, and I'm not sure how much the state could even help us, you know, so I really think that we need to get our budgets under control and live within our means. Cause I think we're over living our means right now, spending more than we should. And I think we should be able to put money into capital reserve, and I think we should be able to hold the line on taxes and not keep spending at the rate we're
Right.
going.
Can I redirect this back to this? The whole issue is of bonding, though. It's
Right?
not, we're not really, we've done the budget stuff, which, you know, I don't remember, you were there for one of the meetings, weren't you? Yeah. And then we have the town meeting where you can bring up that stuff. But right now, we're really trying to figure out if the public thinks that we should be able to bond some of these projects to lower, it would lower the taxes. We bonded one of
How
them.
many of them need to be done though? Is it imminent that the road's gonna fall in or?
Well, we don't want to wait until that's the problem. I mean,
Well,
at that
but I'm
point.
saying it's not any of them that critical. That they can't either be worked into a capital budget, or they can take money out of a project that could be delayed or scaled back or not done. And use that money to do some of these that are desperate to do. But I don't see any of these that are desperate, as far as I can see. So do we need the bond at all? We don't even need the bond,
Well,
as far
part
as
of,
I can see.
part of that, it was the last point that Kevin made, is we don't know if we're gonna get the state money, because the state doesn't know if we're gonna get the federal money. So that gives us the ability to be able to pay our bills next year, this coming fiscal year, if we don't get the state money.
If we don't do these projects, we don't need the bond, right?
To pay.
No,
the-
we'd be worse off.
What do you mean?
Well, if we don't get the state money and we don't have the bond, we still have to pay the bills.
So we wouldn't have to do the capital roads projects perhaps, but we
That's
still
what
have
I'm
to pay
saying.
that, we have to pay the school bills and things of that nature that,
We'd be doubly worse.
We'd still be in the hole for $900,000. I think we had two, well, one of two options was this way, which is to create a bond for just the capital improvements roads budget. And the other way to do it would be to kind of roll the dice, and then if the state does, things blow up at the state level, we'd have to go to special town meeting and create a whole new budget later in the year. So, which is complicated. So this kind of gives us, like Kevin said, it's a hedge against what might happen at the state level.
So you're gonna use this bond money, but not just those three roads? Academy Hill, the Liberty
No.
Three
Street.
roads are in the meeting.
No, the roads has already been identified. The budget, the capital roads budget's already been identified, so that is not gonna change. What might change is if the state says, guess what, you're not getting any money, we would say, well, how are we gonna pay the bills so we could reallocate our taxes raised, pay the bills to the school and the other necessities. And then we'd have the option, not necessarily that we would do it, but we would have the option. The town would have the option to go and bond, let's say, Hopkins Hill Road for $500,000. Take that out as a bond. So it just gives us, it's a crazy year, but we're trying to come up with some kind of mechanism to address the craziness. And this is kind of the tools that we came up with, put in the shed, which is, we're not necessarily saying that it's gonna happen, but it's there if we need it.
So this is an easy way another way to think about it is this is an easier way to avoid the possibility of having to do a supplemental tax bill in the middle of the year. Because if we raise taxes based, not on this. And then we don't get any of the state money for a year, we still gotta pay those bills. Like the kids still need to be educated and, all those bills still have to be paid. So we'd have to come back at a special town meeting and say, hey, guys, we gotta send out another tax bill and raise more money.
Isn't that what our capital reserve fund is for? These
So-
emergencies?
So we're not as flush in that fund as, our policy is that we have enough in that fund to fund everything we need to pay
For 4 months.
for 4 months.
Yeah.
That's in our fund balance.
That's our
Yeah,
fund,
balance, yeah.
general fund balance policy.
So 3
But-
months?
Three,
Yeah,
There's
that's
a
Quarter,
road
yeah,
reserve
sorry,
account.
2 months.
There's a road
Different.
reserve account that
Yeah.
has about 100,000.
right. But, we'd still need, a million. What? 6? 7?
four,
4?
no, for what?
What?
For those 4 months,
3 months.
3
Three,
months.
yeah.
I mean, it's
It's per quarter.
it's over $1 million. So we don't wanna spend all that because then we wouldn't have a reserve account anymore, a rainy day fund. It'd be gone, or most of it. So that's not a great idea. Right?
So let me understand, this bond isn't to fix those roads.
It
This
could be.
bond is to
Could be.
cover if the state doesn't fund the schools and what was the other thing? Schools and,
And municipal revenue
Revenue
share.
sharing and,
so
Homestead
that's what this
exemption.
bond is for?
No.
So Roger, you're doing,
Yep.
there's 2 things that's gonna happen in June. You're gonna approve the capital roads budget, which has been identified by the select. board.
Discuss it in the town meeting anyway.
Yeah, and that capital roads budget is $900,000. That is the category in our annual budget, okay? So by matter of clicker vote, we're gonna have to approve that part of the budget. What we're talking about tonight is when you come to the polls on June 10th, there's gonna be this question: shall the town be allowed to
Raise and appropriate a sum of money not to exceed $900,000 for its capital road program.
Yeah.
Through a loan agreement or municipal bond with terms deemed by the municipal officials as being in the town's best interest.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the capital roads project, but then you're also talking
Yeah.
about not funding the schools. So which is that money for? One or the other?
It's for capital roads projects. But if things go to hell and we get no money, then we have the option of having some money to use to pay our bills. That's not what we want to do. That's what we're hoping is not going to happen, that the state blows up. We're hoping that we can use it to finance a project, not necessarily even all of them, but a project which would then it could lower the tax bill, so the increase is not as high.
So look at it this way, if we don't have this option to bond capital roads, this didn't exist. And when we vote at the annual meeting to approve the roads budget, town is committed to do those projects as we see fit, let's say, as the schedule allows.
but taxes will be raised
To do those
to
projects
pay for those projects.
specifically. So if in the meantime, the state says, well, guess what? We're gonna shortchange you $1 million this year. We don't have any option to pay the bills. So how do we do that? So do we do a supplemental budget and go back to the town and create another supplemental budget to kind of pay the screw up, excuse me, at the state level? Or do we have some other mechanism? So this is the other option.
To be
That's
able
what
to-
really confuses me,
It's
Is-
confusing.
Yeah.
is you're talking about. It might be used for the municipal part of the budget to pay the schools and. Or we'll just spend it all on the roads if the state comes through. And that's what I'm against.
So one way or another, we come back for a special town meeting. Either to ask for permission to transfer money to pay the bills for education and everything, because the state's not doing that. Or to levy another tax bill, and everyone wanted to avoid that. So doing this gives enough flexibility in the budget. And we wouldn't do anything without asking. but it provides the ability to be flexible enough so that we don't get caught with our pants down. And potentially lower the increase in taxes this year. Which would be a good thing.
So if you. I keep using Hopkins Hill Road, but we're also talking about a sidewalk improvement on River Road, which is $200,000. So let's say we want to bond that. So we have to go back to the town and say, for a meeting and say, we'd like to bond $215,000.
No, this is the question.
This is the question.
That's the question on Tuesday. Are you given, is this board given the authority to go borrow that money?
Bond,
You would make that decision at some point later on,
but not
At select
until,
board level.
yeah,
at the
Yeah.
select board level.
if it's approved, but not until after we know where all the chips are falling.
Right, has the state shortchanged us or not? Is it in our best interest, or if at town meeting, people say, well, let's reduce the capital road program. You got the bond approved. We're gonna hedge our bets against the state. Go borrow that money to pay for these things. The other thing is, option is kick the can. Which I never support or would advise the board to do, but.
But Roger, you can also, in the town meeting, bring up your concern with the capital roads projects. That anything, I think anything in the budget can be amended at the town meeting. So,
Just a comment on Wanda's, on your comments about the escalation. I mean, if you look at the escalation of roads in the last 10 years, that's even more sobering for where we were 10 years ago, what we were spending. And now it's almost tenfold, not, 8 or 8.5 or something like that. So it's sobering. Somebody that's in the building trades, I can say that it's also staggering, the increase in the last 5 to 6 years in just construction costs. It's doubled what it was to build a house just 2019. Now it's twice that. So there's no reason why other contractors and constructors shouldn't, they're all tied together. So it's all following suit to what the market allows them to get, basically. So
Well, I think my point though was more that, and maybe I'm kind of talking now the horses out of the barn already. Because, I should have been here during the budget talks, but, we knew that the state and the government was in a bad place. So, back then, I guess I should have been here saying, can we tap the brakes on some of these projects for this year? Because now they're in there, so unless we go to town meeting and try to advocate to get that cut down, there's nothing we're gonna do. But, because, what I see, I haven't seen the numbers yet, but my guess is that taxes are going up this year. Our house tax, real estate tax are gonna be going up.
I mean, I said this in one of our last meetings, which is town, I think, is doing actually a pretty good job. I mean, taxes are going up, everything's going up in cost, including construction and anything that you're buying to do road work, labor, bituminous, crushed stone, whatever it is. But the town increases about 5.5% over last year. It's really schools that is the big, is bringing the big brunt of this increase. Something like, 10%. 11.14. So, and that's 60% of our budget. So, yeah, I mean, I think, roads are part of it, of course, and that's a third of our annual budget, of our town municipal budget. But schools that's the gorilla.
Is the school budget gonna be voted on? Like I think last year we voted on it at the same time we voted on it,
You will vote at the on the ballot, it'll be on the ballot.
just like it was last year.
Yep.
Not at open town meeting.
Right.
Yeah, right.
No, but that's what it was.
The week.
We used to have a separate school board.
That happened 2 weeks ago.
it's that we're having a hard time getting anybody to show up for those. There
Well,
has-
it's an exercise in futility. It's about what it amounts to, because unless you mount a monumental effort,
It's hard to
But-
stop the train.
Yeah, and I do want to address, just so that there's no confusion, we through all the budget workshops and everything, we've been saying everything that you're saying. It's definitely not like we're sitting here going. How can we put the screws? You know, we're very conscientious about. Oh my God, like everything's costing so much money. But that comes part and parcel with the realization that if we don't do a road project this year, 100% guaranteed, the exact same project is going to cost more next year. If we wait 5 years, how much more is it going to cost? We don't know, but we do know that we've got enough historical data to show the increase of cost to get the work done is, you know, it's never going to go down, ever. It's never going to be cheaper than it is today, ever.
Just look at this, to your point. If you look at what the budget was or what the budget we carried, and took it out of the budget 2 years ago for the sidewalk improvements here to what it is today, I think it's up at least 30, if not 40% from what it was just 2.5 years ago. You know, two
Two
budgets
budgets
ago. So it's not getting cheaper, and you know, it's work that has to be done. I don't know what the answer is, but just.
Well, one other thing about the roads, we did do a calculation of what just maintaining our 42 miles of roads would cost. And the amount that we're spending now is bare minimum and maybe a little bit less than what it actually costs to keep the roads that we have in the condition that they're in now. Believe it or not, like per mile to maintain a paved road costs, and I can't remember what the figure was, but
Too much.
too much. But the level that we're spending at right now is just barely maintenance.
I find that.
It's really hard to
It's
believe,
hard to
especially when
believe.
you consider that a lot of our neighboring towns are literally only putting $150,000 towards roads total. Total. So if we're barely maintaining maintenance level of spending,
I
just
think,
drive the roads, go
I
look.
think I think we should be half of what we're spending. I mean, considering what the work I've seen done and the level of work that's been done is nice, but it's nowhere near what we need. I mean, it's way overdone for the roads and the amount of traffic that them roads are getting. They're way overdone.
Well,
So-
We're,
I think
we're
that-
in line with, I mean, Damascata has half the miles of roads that we have, and they spend half the amount that we spend.
well,
The,
no, that's been less, but
Not,
But
not a lot less.
But we're also, you know, anything that you put money into it, the return is gonna be a lot longer before the road needs to be redone. So we're trying to do roads well so that we won't have to redo them as frequently.
and
That's-
we've got a good maintenance program, which we didn't have before. So once the road is in, you know, there's a cycle of maintenance that happens. So it's not just set it and forget it. Let's go back every year and check for cracks, seal them. You know, we have a ditching and limbing program that keeps water off the roads as much as possible. And, you know, that it does all add up. I'm not saying any of this is cheap at all. But is it necessary? Absolutely. We just did the road inventory and, you know, some of these roads hadn't been touched in 35 years. No one even knew when West Hamlet was last touched before we fixed it. There were no records and no memories.
It's a boulevard out through there.
Well, but it hadn't been, and same Hopkins Hill hasn't been touched. I don't think in my lifetime.
Can you get down it now?
I'm 48.
Can you get down it now? Is there potholes big enough to sink a ship in?
Go look at
there-
Liberty Street. I mean,
There
if
are
we're
some.
spending a little bit of time on the link that Kara provided. It's on the town website somewhere, and it shows you a Google map of the town, and every road is color coded. And you can zoom in, you can see all the pictures of the inventory that she did for us. And the conditions, and she followed the
RSMS.
RSMS, the DOT program for how you catalog and classify road conditions. It's fantastic.
I don't agree. She recommended that our road go back to gravel. Come on, going backwards? That doesn't make any sense at all. So I question her credibility, as far as I'm concerned.
So can we refocus on the bond issue again, though, please? We got a couple of, David had his hand up for a while.
David Levack, 30 Glidden Street, no, stand up so you can see me. So I guess for a preliminary question is, if it passes to do the capital improvements at 900,000, will that be able to be completed within the next fiscal year? I mean, Ben mentioned that prices go up every year. Will we have the contractors and it will be shovel ready, planning everything to complete that in the next budget year?
Those projects, yes, for sure. If we did all of
Everything
them,
that's on the list.
if we did all of them, they're, yep, they will.
The money gets allocated to the capital roads program or our capital roads reserve account. So even if it falls into the next fiscal year to be completed, the prices are already set.
And if that money came from a bond, though, you're paying the interest.
You're paying-
longer 'cause
Yes.
It takes longer to finish the program.
You start, once you bond the money, it sets the clock on municipal bonds, so it would be about 50,000 beginning of. We wouldn't look to borrow until after this whole state issue we're dealing with.
But when you bond, would you bond for the whole 900,000 once you get the cash?
That depends on,
Interest is running.
yeah, once we borrow the money, we're not gonna borrow the money until we know what we're doing. And it might only be one of the projects, or it might be two of the projects. I'd argue that the costly one, which is Hopkins Hill Road, which includes the ledge removal, that'll probably cost the most. That's probably the best candidate for bonding. The last section of Academy Hill Road that we've been going through this program of renovating that whole road, milling it, pushing the mill down into the dirt to make it a stronger road. There's only one small 1,000-foot section left to do in that. I wouldn't ask to borrow money for that 150,000. That's part of our regular capital road program. And the next year, do the final overcoat for that road and be done with it for the next 20 years, except for some crack sealing and ditching and those preventative maintenance work. But when you bond a municipal amount, yes, there's an interest payment to begin with, but it's usually about a year after you borrow. Regardless of when you start, there are timelines in which you have to start the project and spend the money down, but it doesn't have to be, immediately.
But interest runs immediately.
Interest runs about a year out. The first interest payment happens about 9 months after you borrow.
But it's calculated from when you take it.
When you take the amount out. Yep.
So I just, I'm struggling with the concept of hedging against the state appropriations with debt. It's great to hedge it with capital reserve things, and maybe a lesson for the future is to beef those up even more throughout time so that we don't get into this position in the future. Hopefully it doesn't keep happening. But to sort of hedge that with debt, it's just like using the credit card to pay it. It's easy to get stuck behind, or it can accumulate. So little difficulty sort of reconciling that in my mind. But I haven't heard, would you address like all the costs involved, like the upfront costs with bonding, the insurance, interest rate, and things like that may help us determine what is the cost of using debt over the supplemental tax assessment?
Yeah, it's just shy of half. So you borrow 900,000, you're gonna end up with all your interest payments, you're gonna end up spending about 1.7
But I think that what's the current,
for
you
a
looked
30
in,
year. Yeah, for a 30 year on a
looked into
6%.
insurance.
Yes, I've been working with, I've been getting my figures from working with Municipal Bond Bank. Just to understand what this is. There are other options. That's why the question asks, what kind of loan program or a municipal bond. I work with Municipal Bond Bank. They provide that service at no additional cost to them. It's just the interest rate. Payments.
And those are better than like the retail.
Absolutely.
It's like
no
three and a half.
Upfront charges, I thought that they, getting everything.
That's baked into the number. So it's, yeah, they can get let's say they could get a rate of 3.5% and they charge the town 3.55. So they get their through that. Yeah.
And then I guess the last, I know it's doom and gloom about the national money not coming to Maine, maybe in the way of grants, but don't foreclose it totally. Keep looking, working with the Lincoln County Planning Commission to see if there's grants to fund these, keep hope alive, I guess, if we could say that. So, but I know Kevin's been working with Emily, just keep at it. Maybe there's money out there, maybe it'll come.
That team's an incredible resource. I reach out to them frequently.
Okay, please keep it up.
Linda Mercer, I just had a question about our existing bonds, and do we still have a bond for the Academy Hill Road?
Lower part.
Yes.
Yep.
And how much longer do we have to pay off on that? And what, I mean, that was a huge impact on our taxes, as I recall.
Yeah.
And so it concerns me about spending another 900,000 if we don't have to spend that much money.
I
And how
don't
long,
recall
you
exactly
know,
how
the
many
payment
years.
period is.
Yeah, I don't exactly recall how many years are left on that.
Can't remember when we struck that.
10-year bond.
It's 222,000 over the year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it goes down a little bit every year, but
Yep.
that'll go away eventually.
I don't.
Yeah, it was a 10-year bond.
10-year.
It was 10.
Well, how long is, so how many more years do we have?
Oh,
I'm gonna say like six.
6.
That's 6.
And we have the fire truck, right?
That
Which
is,
we
yeah.
don't want to pay off because that's got an insane.
Well, that's the old, that's,
That's got a great.
The new
interest
one,
rate.
the new
Oh,
one's
yeah,
coming.
The new fire truck.
And the new one's coming.
Yeah,
That we are on now.
So that's.
yeah.
And I guess I would just express the same concern about using the bond money to hedge your bets on the state issue.
Yeah.
It seemed like the-
Yeah, well, and hopefully the state issue is not an issue. Hopefully,
I mean,
but-
every town will be facing
100%,
the same issue.
right? There'll be a lot of big problems.
But when we were talking about this bond question, I'm sorry he's not here tonight. John Mills has been on our finance committee, very savvy when it comes to understanding the numbers. One of the things he talked about was these really large projects. If we just use we use all the property tax dollars to pay for these larger expensive projects. You're upfronting that cost to everybody who's here now. 10 years from now, if you're not here, you've already paid for that. And instead, that's a cost that should be spread across that 30 years. Like it's a shared resource, it's a shared benefit. And all the people today are upfronting that cost rather than sharing with people who will be here in 30 years. Did a terrible job butchering John's comments, but it's something that's important to
Actually,
talk
I
about.
thought that was pretty clear.
Okay,
But
well,
the same thing we talked about with the fire truck, the new one.
right.
Do we upfront the cost and make everybody who's here right this minute pay for a fire truck that we're gonna have for 30 years? Or do we spread it out and let the people who are gonna be here in 20 years help pay for this fire truck that they'll be using?
Right.
So I mean, it's part of the same thing.
Yeah, and it's just those large projects that are
Yeah.
most beneficial to. So even if the approval is up to 900, I don't think we'd be borrowing all 900.
Yeah.
We'd focus in on that large project or,
Well, in the project that's going to last 30 years,
right,
not, we're not borrowing for ditching and tree removal, stuff that has to happen every year.
Maintenance.
Right.
It's not maintenance.
It's
capital
like it's an
improvements.
actual improvement that will last beyond the life of the loan.
And we don't have a whole lot of debt right now, so, no,
Yeah, what do you mean?
we don't have a lot of
As a
debt.
town, we don't.
as compared to any other town in Maine, they're very low in their
Very,
percentage of
very
debt.
low.
Good. Rob, Back.
Bob Nelson, I just want to clarify the timing again, so the thinking is the town would approve this mechanism at the vote. And then there's a question of whether the ballot measure qualifies, and we'll know later in June. If that doesn't pass, then there's no necessity to use this mechanism, and we know that pretty quickly.
Yep.
if that does pass, then in November, we'll know whether voters approve the measure.
Mhm.
Yep.
It wouldn't be until that point that the town needs to pull the trigger on this measure. Right?
Correct.
Is that correct? Because any fall roads projects would be funded out of the approved budget. It would only be at that point that we'd be, oh shit. We need to have some ability to shift funds. It's designated for roads,
Mhm.
but the usefulness for the budget is that it creates another way to fund the roads so that the budget lines for roads could, with voter approval, then be shifted to the other line items in the budget that the state is no longer funding. Is that?
Perfect,
Perfect.
perfect. Well said. I'm quoting those sound bites. Sound bites are coming from you now.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it.
Yeah.
That's the hedge.
Yeah, in fact, I think we
Wow.
talked about moving Hopkins Hill into 26 anyway. That we would do that in the spring.
Right, okay, yeah, so I mean, obviously there'd be incentive to not do less in the fall.
Yeah.
While there's this uncertainty and leave the budget available, so there's more.
Yeah.
Budget that can be shifted.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
did it.
We're we're holding off as long as we possibly can.
That's right.
Yeah.
And providing options. That's really
Okay.
the name of the game.
Right.
And it's just unfortunate that the timing of it, the way it rolls out, because we will have our referendum and our open town meeting before we know if they got the signatures.
Right.
So that a couple days after our open town meeting, we'll discover whether or not they got the signatures.
And also to clarify, that providing this town with this option doesn't cost anything, it's only
An option.
when the town decides to do it and pulls the trigger that interest starts and then it's having costs. So
Correct.
It gives flexibility, but it's not, there's no immediate cost.
No,
And there's no saying that we're gonna borrow $900,000.
Right.
Not a given. Now,
What is your best estimate on the cost of money?
which
Mal, can you clarify that
From what
question?
standpoint?
And which investment decisions are you gonna make based on?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
can't answer that with a straight face right now, Mal. What do I assume a percentage is right now?
Well.
Anywhere from-
It would be,
3.5 to 6 is what the going rates are. 3.5 to 6.
For
That's
bonding.
the
But that's today, and as Rob
Right.
just elucidated,
uh,
we wouldn't be even thinking about it until like December, January. Right? So
but it might. pay-
Don't know.
It might pay if you're gambling to move early.
it might not.
I don't think we get paid to gamble.
I don't
Yeah.
think we don't get paid to gamble.
Gamble?
Gamble.
We're not gonna,
Use taxpayer money.
I don't think we're gonna take money and pay on it that we're not gonna use for, half a year. That's
Yeah.
Silly.
So we'll know a lot more in about 3 weeks.
June 18th.
The petition has to be certified on June 18th.
All right, anything else? Right, then I guess we'll close the public hearing at, I need my glasses, 7:44. Sorry. And let's see, so I guess I will at 7:44 call these, I'll make my thing up here. The May 27th, 2025 Select Board meeting to order. All right, and before we get going with the meeting, we have the pleasure every year of putting together our annual report and having a dedication. So I would like to read a little bit of a dedication for this year. The person that it's being dedicated to is a beloved Newcastle resident, a tireless volunteer in many town endeavors, and a joyful presence wherever you see her. Betsy Evans moved to Newcastle in 1992 with her husband Dick Cleveland and quickly found opportunities to volunteer. Besides being a longtime Skedonka volunteer and supporter, she is a passionate, professionally trained gardener, So the Veterans Park and Tamascott Engine House Gardens were an obvious start. They have benefited from her horticultural design skills and hard work all these years, as have the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens, where she has volunteered since its inception. Betsy is always delighted to share her knowledge about plants and how to make them thrive. Whenever friends or family see a tree, a shrub, or a flowering plant that they don't recognize, the answer is ask Betsy. I will definitely attest to that. Another abiding interest of Betsy's is local history. She is an active member of the Newcastle Historical Society, serving as secretary for many years and volunteering for about every project that comes along. Currently, she's especially active with the group that is restoring the town cemeteries. A born naturalist, Betsy enjoys hiking all the local trails to observe what's happening each season. She volunteers for trail work days with Coastal Rivers Conservation Trust, and she participates in their annual Great Salt Bay Horseshoe Crab Count every spring. Betsy has a lot of family close by, whom she enjoys going on adventures with. Her most monumental achievement has been to climb Mount Katahdin with her sister, niece, and others at least a dozen times, most recently just a couple of years ago. In addition to her outdoor adventures, she's well known for her pie baking skills and always is asked to bring a pie to family gatherings. It is with our deepest gratitude that we thank you, Betsy, for all you've contributed to our town and to the greater community. I'm so How about you know, this came from the staff. Suggesting came from the staff, so. Well, we thank you. Made sure. And unfortunately. Betsy, we will have the annual reports very soon and you will get your own copy. Shelley will make sure of it. Thank you.
See you, Shirley.
But
Have a good night.
I hear the big butt there.
But I'm going home.
Good night, Kelly.
All right,
Betsy.
we,
Bye,
Thank
Betsy.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a good night.
No.
No speech.
She was
That's a
sent
good
here on a premise of being thanked for something else, so.
Yes,
I had no idea.
I think she bought the fake premise,
Yeah,
so that's good.
it's good.
I love this little tradition that we do.
And it's really.
Yeah,
good.
it really is cool.
It's fun. All right, now down to business. Do we have any amendments to the agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, then we will move on to the minutes of the meeting of May 12th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve those as presented?
So moved.
All right, moved by Ben. Seconded by Rufus. Did anyone have anything? They looked fine to me. I don't know if anyone else caught anything. No. All right, then all in favor? All right, passes. Oh, you weren't here.
I'm abstaining.
4 passes 4 with 1 abstention. Let's see. Do I have any public comments on items not on the agenda tonight?
I have just one thing that I want to ask in front of everybody for some neighbors on Glidden Street. There are 2 storm drains that do not.
Do not drain
They do not
storms.
drain. They are,
Do not
they
drain
have
storms.
puddles sitting on them. I happened to be there the other day and they were like, whose problem is this? How do we address this? So I just wanted to ask, is that us? Is that the sanitary district? How do we?
We're the storm drains. That's part of
Okay.
the Glidden Street work that's being done now in terms of we got the survey done this past year. Now we're going back to get the engineering done to redo that street. There's nothing we can do about it today
Okay,
without spending emergency amount of money
okay.
to fix it.
I
It's on the
Had
work
to
plan.
ask.
It's on the work plan for the next fiscal year.
okay, great. Thank you.
Well, in
The
that,
engineering this year, the engineering coming into this next fiscal year and then the redo of that.
Okay,
We'll have
it's
to-
just, it's kind of comical.
We're aware. I'm aware. I'm
in a
fully
swimming
aware.
pool.
There's some good stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't bore you right now.
All right, well, in the same vein, then I will just get it on the record, bring up, somebody asked me, a resident asked me if we would perhaps look into doing what maybe she said, maybe Rockland did, of banning smoking on the sidewalks of Main Street. I said, I'll bring it up. She said as a runner, walker, it's getting tiresome running through big clouds, and so other towns have done it. I didn't know that we could regulate sidewalks, but it's out there. So that's something we can look into maybe, but it was requested.
Part of your priorities discussion?
Can I just speak a moment on that?
Yep.
Good at enforcing that,
Well, 100%. I mean, that's like anything else we've got,
right?
right?
You could do whatever you wanna do, but if you don't have the people to enforce it, I mean,
Right.
yeah, Miles is at Lincoln Health is a smoke-free campus, but.
Yeah.
People go out to their cars or go by their cars and smoke all the time, yeah, it's a good thought, but. it's
Yeah.
not.
That's our consistent theme in solving some problems is who's gonna enforce it.
I think to an extent, it's just a statement of values could help or whatever, so.
Yeah.
Whether you can enforce it or not.
And it could be a statement. Some people, maybe it's an 80-20 thing. If 80% of people abided by it, it's still better than not having it, I guess. Right, I think it's Mike.
We corrected the days and dates that were incorrect on the warrant that nobody noticed.
Those are all good now then? Good to
Yeah.
go?
The
Okay.
proper one is out there publicly.
Excellent,
Mhm.
excellent.
Thank you, Michael, for putting them out.
All right, if there are no other public comments on items not on the agenda, we'll move on to unfinished business 5A, the community action grant. We need to authorize you to sign the grant. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta go get rid of a tick. Who brought this tick in here now? It's crawling up my arm. Kevin, why don't you explain it while I go wash this critter down the sink?
Okay, the community action grant, this is tied to the community resiliency partnership that we became members of this past fiscal year. This community action grant we applied for in December. After approval to put the solar panels on, this grant was to do battery backup for this building to be warming and cooling center, as well as a battery lending program. We'll still have to implement, which basically means that if somebody does lose power, they can come borrow one of these batteries that they can use to, keep their fridge going, so you don't lose all the food. Or equipment in your house that you need to keep running. And then the final piece is a public outreach aspect of it, which includes magnets. We had applied to also have our website redesign done as part of this. Unfortunately, our language wasn't strong enough to secure that portion of it, so our $75,000 ask became $68,500. I'm still happy with it. I'd like for the
Yeah.
board to accept the award, and we'll happily manage the grant as part of this. One of Michelle's tasks is grant management, so. If I can have your support, we'll get going on getting those. I mean, I've already asked Rob to move forward with getting the batteries ordered, so.
I'll move to accept the community action grant dated May 15th, 2025, and authorize the town manager to sign an award. The award confirmation.
Second that.
Seconded by Tor. All right, any other discussion? No, all in favor? Passes 5-0.
Can I add to, thank you, Thomas, to helping me start the wall in the basement,
Ah. The wall, the battery wall.
the battery
Oh,
wall.
cool.
You have to build a little room, fireproof room, so.
Fireproof it?
Well, it's 2-hour fire rating,
Oh, okay.
drywall, 5-inch drywall on both sides.
Where is that gonna be?
Right when you go down the stairs, hence the reason the town of Newcastle sign is no longer in the basement, because once we build that wall, you won't be able to fit that out. It'll be down there forever,
Okay,
or you cut it in half and carry it out.
Good.
It's
well,
Good thinking ahead.
Newcastle used to be 2 words, so.
true, we could just cut it, yeah.
All right, unfinished business 5B, the update on priorities. So this is a precursor to our discussion.
Yeah, I wanted, well, we did talk about reviewing this every quarter. This is sort of a late third quarter, but the information's important. for us to kind of just talk a little bit about, recognize what we did well, where we may have fallen a little further behind on, and think about what we want to try to accomplish in the next fiscal year. I really want to try to be more realistic about timelines. I know I put that on myself a lot of this, but it's part of this exercise is me recognizing what can we actually get done in a period of time. Some of these projects, there's no question. Yeah, we can get this done in 3 months, but there's other ones that's like, here we
Yeah,
are,
no.
9 months later, and we haven't even touched it. So,
Well, I always think of this as fluid.
oh, it is a fluke.
Yeah, and so you don't wanna just have everything done at the end of this.
Yes,
A year from now, well, you do,
No.
ideally, but then we wouldn't have anything for you next year, so.
Well, there's a list. I remember when I first asked the question, what did we come up with? Like, there's still pieces of it still on the board
Yeah,
from
sure.
2 years
Yeah.
ago. It's like 90 or 100 things that this
Yeah.
town has identified as wanting to get done.
Yeah.
So it's great that we keep looking at it and keep shifting what needs to be the priorities, and I appreciate your support when those shifts have to happen.
Well, I think, I don't know about the rest of you, but we're gonna dive into this. It might just be nice to spend a few minutes going over the list of stuff that actually got accomplished.
Kevin, what do you need from us tonight with this?
Nothing.
I don't think I need anything from.
Well, I mean, do you want to review it? Is it?
I think
just-
it's recognized, well, I hope you had a chance to read
Yes.
it. If there are certain things you guys want to showcase as, positives, I'm happy with that, or the other things that just popped up that we tried to get done or had to get done. I really want to be clear about what I need to try to get done in June. Is quite a long list, and that's why I put it in there. I mentioned in my town manager report, we just brought on our intern. And I hope to be able to shift a few of these things. Sam has identified she wants to get more involved in a few of these side projects. We have Trevor's on board now. Like, I feel like we can get more done
Mhm.
with the team I have in place. It's just taken me until basically last month to get there.
So do we do a workshop on this? I mean, that's what we've done in the past.
I
right?
think that might make sense instead of trying to do it during your regular meeting.
Yeah.
But after
I
the
agree
new
with that.
board, either before you got. I assume no one's gonna
We do it in
replace
July.
Thomas. I
Something
would
right
rather
in Nova?
try to get it done in June,
Before meeting or?
before your first meeting in July, maybe.
Okay, so after, so sometime, okay, got it. Yep.
Maybe take it easy in June so I could get this done. Take some, I know that like at our next meeting, it'd be important for you guys to pick who's talking about which element of the budget at the annual town meeting.
Yeah.
It's a couple of small things for us to tackle, but I'm not gonna try to put too much on your plate other than potentially further conversation about the Lynch Road culvert. But hopefully we can do a lot of that tonight, but that's like my anxiety is on that right now, so.
I think I think that's good. It's good to give this some breathing room.
Yep.
And, really get into the details and, talk about it, give it attention for what it deserves, and it doesn't, I think it's not gonna happen at 8 o'clock on a regular meeting.
No,
No, that's what I would say. I think the 2 pages. If everybody didn't see this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I just want to highlight this. Because in past years. A quarter of this. Or less would have actually been accomplished, so. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I'm gonna highlight some stuff. I'm just gonna start. At the top and go down, because there's 2 pages of stuff that got done. And we have to remember through all of this. Being spearheaded by the town manager, who was also serving as a code enforcement officer
Mhm.
at the time.
Yeah.
For how many months?
I think not, 6.
6.
Months.
It was more
It's a
than 6.
long
August.
6 months.
September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April,
April.
8 months.
8 months. Okay, so double duty on jobs for the town. Updated,
Oh, you're looking at,
I'm gonna go right.
you're
down
going,
the
oh,
list.
you're looking at.
I'm
the-
looking at the list.
Yeah,
It's a
so
great
I,
list.
I added that list too, yes.
Yeah.
These are just, this is the board's action, though. This is all type of the board's action.
But I get that.
Okay, sorry.
But what I'm telling you, and what everyone needs to understand and recognize is that less than a quarter of this actually would have been accomplished. So I'm gonna just toot Kevin's horn for a second. It's not just us. It's less us. We have done the budget adjustments, address carry forward accounts. We redid the fee schedule, tax commitment, the abatements and supplements, tree growth removal penalty was addressed. The FY 26 budget, bylaws and policies of the select board, priorities discussion, tax acquired properties, which we had a few this year we had to deal with. Core zoning code amendments happened twice, investment policy, harbor management ordinance, shellfish ordinance, general assistance ordinance, shoreline zoning ordinance, recall of municipal officers ordinance, town office hours policy, cash receipt policy, personnel policy, street vendor applications. I'm not sure why. Contracts with Hager Enterprises, and this is all contracts. Contracts with Lincoln County Affordable Housing, ARPA funds, downtown snow removal, Hillcrest Road, fish ladder, related facilities, animal control officer, cable franchise agreements, No World Jefferson Transfer Station agreement, spent a lot of time on that. Solar panel system, RFP award, sale of surplus equipment, and then MMA legislative policy committee ballot, staff board and policy and committee appointments. We lost our town. A lot of shuffling in the town office this year. Annual special town meeting discussions and warrant discussions, Great Salt Bay Schools reorganization plan, which hit this year. DMR experimental aquaculture lease application, discussion of use of reserve fund accounts. Another tax acquired property, community action grant. This abandoned sailboat we had to deal with, paid family medical leave changes to the law. Road assessment inventory, another tax acquired property, village partnership initiative was not a small thing, took over a year. Adopt a highway program, which just got built and adopted for the town. The ballot question about the bond, we spent a lot of time on. And the last couple things are just very recent. Redesign of the Newcastle Town logo, a road discontinuance, reward of an ask grant. And the Pumpkin Fest 5K, which we just talked about now, some of those are small things, but more than not, they are large things.
Yeah.
And I'm flabbergasted. I'm amazed.
And that's some highlights. It's not everything.
No, that's not everything.
Well, I'm working on this as an available spreadsheet on the website, but it shows the full version shows all of the dates that you touched on any of these topics. So you can quickly link it back to the select board packet. So if you want to know, we talked about this topic on these 4 dates, you can go click that date link and it takes you to the PDF of the agenda. It's not done, but the numbers are in there. The links aren't all done yet. A task for Trevor. But so once that's live, I'll report that to you guys so public can have access to it. So if you're curious about a topic that the board addressed in the last year, and eventually you can work backwards, but right now
That's good because generally I'll think, oh, we did that in January. Oh, no, it was like 5 months before that.
Right.
Just hard to keep it all.
it is. And
straight.
so, a lot of the reports that I give you have had a link on the date that it was discussed, and you can always link backward that way, but just trying to recall exactly when this started or the last time you talked about it, it'd be nice to have that somewhere.
Okay.
And I want to thank Ben for thinking of that concept and me then taking a little time to try to
Build
implement
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, thanks.
That was just so that I didn't have to remember it.
Well, that's the point. I can't remember everything either. That's why I write it all down. You guys all have to read it.
All right, so we'll plan on doing a workshop then on priorities sometime in July,
No, June.
Late June.
late June.
Yeah. If we
Okay.
can.
Okay,
I just before our
before
first
the
meeting
July
in
meeting.
July.
okay,
So that way I can pull something together for us to make a decision on.
okay.
Because we'd be doing the tax amendment, the second select board meeting in July.
Yeah.
Right. Where we do.
Okay.
We've got that. That's pretty efficient between Jim and Michelle and myself. We're pretty locked down on addressing that.
Okay.
It's just an amazing amount of stuff in 1 year.
Yeah. Good.
It's nice to be organized.
It is.
It is.
It's nice to have somebody that keeps us organized.
Yeah, no,
It's just like,
yeah. not saying that I'm organizing this, it's this guy.
Right.
It's nice to see it organized and know what's going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, you guys meet you're here for hours on end,
Yeah.
twice a month, and it's nice to know what have we actually accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah, you forget.
You do.
All right, then moving on to agenda item 5C. Lynch Road, minor
Yeah.
span, major span, bridge, culvert, box culvert, concrete, riprap.
Can you give us the too long did not read?
Ugh.
I mean, I read it, but it is complicated.
It is extremely complicated and I really struggle. This is what took me almost all night on Friday to figure out how to translate this extremely complex situation into something that is palatable or that aside from me who can think about it in my head, but may not be able to articulate. So what's happened is for the longest time, I've understood that working now I'm on now my third project manager from FEMA. They've had some shifts. What I understood initially was when the culvert failed and we were to hire an engineer to design and replace in kind, how much would that cost? That number came in at ultimately with FEMA's approval, $1.2 million to replace it in kind. Now, through the FEMA program, they'd cover 75% of that and the state would cover 15%. So the town would be on the hook for 1.2 million, we'd be on the hook for $120,000 for replacing kind. Now, the issue is, it's just gonna get washed out again.
Because this is the third
This
one.
is now, when we replace this will be the third one going in. So the conversation that we had back in fall of 2023 was I had a preliminary engineering work done that would be reimbursed as part of this project. At 90%. That was through VHB. They came back, did a hydrology study and said, yeah, you're just gonna lose the next one if you do it again. What are our other options? So we looked at a box culvert. We also looked at a bridge span. And at the time, the board said, why don't we design the bridge plan and move forward through the process? And there's money at the federal level too, for what's called mitigation. So it's like that next step. In kind is the 1.2 million. Now we're gonna go forward with a mitigation project. The highest amount of mitigation money we can get is, I think, up to 50% of the in-kind cost. So the magic number there would have been 600,000. We managed to get there by building wing walls on the three-sided culvert with riprap in concept. FEMA came back and said 598,000 or something very close to it. So now we have a price tag of $1.8 million that the federal government recognizes to replace this culvert with a improved or a super winged wall concrete in place project. My understanding and what I was communicated by FEMA was once that money is obligated, it's sent from FEMA says, here's our 75% of the $1.8 million that is going to go to the state. The state's going to throw in their 15%. And now you have an obligation of 180,000. So we're going to get a bridge that's going to survive every storm that comes at us for the next 100 years. And there's the potential that the state will even take over the bridge because of the volume of traffic is potentially high enough that they would take it over. So a win-win. We pay $180,000 for a $1.8 million project.
And get rid of the bridge.
And we get rid of owning the bridge or responsibility of repairing the bridge in the future. That was our win-win. So once the money got obligated for the wing wall mitigation project, that would go to the state. Then I would send a letter to the state for what's called an improved project. And that letter they would say, all right, well, you have been obligated the 90% of $1.8 million. You can do this project, whatever project you want to do, but don't ask for any more money. You're done. So if the project came in at $2 million, we'd be on the hook for the 200,000 plus the 180. So that would be on the town of Newcastle's responsibility. That's how I understood it. Now I just got a new FEMA person who's telling me, no, I need to submit the improved project now, and that has to run through mitigation as well. And now under new leadership at the federal level, we need to have that project started as soon as possible. So even if, so now, all right, And this is where it gets complicated because we need to show that we're moving forward with getting that culvert replaced. I had the DOT out there just recently. I think it's in the report. I gave the Ron Taylor's from the DOT says this is in bad shape and you need to actually do something about it. I called VHB. I said, can you dust off your plans that you gave us with a 90% design from December of 2023? Can you rehash the numbers and parse them out based on what is actually mitigation? Because if I have to run this back through the system, I know we're obligated the 90% of the 1.2 million, but anything above that is at risk. So I don't know if we have the 1.8. I just know we have the 1.2 or the approved project for 1.2. I wouldn't advise we just replace in kind. If anything, the question is, do I go forward with having VHB now design a winged wall at the 1.8? And hopefully it's 1.8? Or do we continue to move forward with the bridge? And we need to do it this fall. Like the contractors need to be in the ground this
Break
fall.
ground and-
They need to break ground in the fall. I have to have the bid documents out by July in order to find a contractor to do the job. So I ran into a crossroads. I couldn't come to you and explain this on May 12th. I found out that week. So as I fully understood it, and now I'm here I spent hours trying to put this memo together, explaining what's going on. And this is the situation we're in. So the question is, do I ask VHB to just design the wing wall? We know it's a sure thing. We're gonna get the up to 1.8 or the 90% of 1.8, and we just move forward. And in that situation, the cost overruns would be shared. The 75% of any cost overrun would be shared. But when you go the route of the improved project, you no longer have that access to that potential for high number. So I have called VHB. I said, you have the 90% design done for the bridge. How quickly can you turn this around and get the bid documents ready to go? They said by July, we could absolutely have this out. This is ready to go. It's been sitting on the shelf. We've already paid for them to manage the project. It's already been part of past cost. And anything forward will get reimbursed as part of this. But my concern is that if I ask them to design the winged wall, I might miss that window to get this done in November or December, or sorry, in the late fall. That window, it's like late fall to April.
So the design sitting on the shelf is the in-kind replacement.
No, the design that's sitting on the shelf is the bridge.
Is the bridge, okay.
Because we discussed doing this back.
So the
in-
wing wall is an upgrade to that design.
Correct, and that was just an exercise that I had VHB do with FEMA
Mhm.
in order for us to show like mitigation is necessary and is not so costly that they're just gonna say, no, just do it in kind. So I had them prove that for $598,000, we can put in these wing walls and we can put this riprap, but that was just concept. That's like preliminary design. They haven't actually physically done the engineering design work. I have the specs for the bridge.
How long does it take to do the wing wall upgrade to the?
That's what I'm concerned about, like even getting them on the books to do it is probably 2 months out. Then do I run the risk
So you're
of
looking at
missing the window of,
September.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, so now you're.
now I'm in a,
October, getting somebody, it would be tough to get it.
So another part of that, as I recall, with the box culvert, is lead time on the box culvert. Right, so if we said tomorrow that we wanted to build this project, we wouldn't have that culvert for how many months? And would we still be in the window of breaking ground in time? Like, how does that further complicate?
well, that just pushes the construction out another year. So my request, so I have, by June 2nd, I have to respond to FEMA about our request for an extension.
Okay,
So that request for an extension, am I explaining a bridge? Or am I explaining a wing wall under the mitigation plan? And that's 2 years out. So I'm either bridge for this fall. And we haven't even talked about how I'm gonna pay for it up front. and then wait for the reimbursements. I know we'll get the 90% or the 90% of the 1.2. I don't know what we'll get beyond that.
At the very least, I think we gotta go for the bridge replacement and the 90% on that. The 1.8, I think at the very least, you don't want to wait for that, lose that.
But that's
Yep.
that's the option where if there's overruns, we're on the
It's
hook
all
for
on
it.
us.
Yeah,
100%.
I got it, but I mean, let's say
And it will
though,
be.
yeah, well, of course, but I mean, but let's say the overruns are 10%. So that's $200,000, that's better than ending up with something that's just gonna fail again next storm,
Yeah, I don't.
and I mean, that doesn't make sense either,
Right,
so.
we're on the hook for $200,000 to replace it in kind,
Right.
and then we have to do that again in 5 years.
So I'm wondering, so I don't know, what's this?
So in your memo, in your document, you have a couple of emails from Josh Tallman, which I hope explain some of this, the nuance here. He sent me another email today because I did ask him, can you just take a look at what right?
It's an email though?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Let me just take a look.
Just recently,
Communication as recently as 10 o'clock this morning.
well, I only say that because. It's the present administration is talking about FEMA's no more. And there's already been severe tornado damage and across the country, and he's refused any help or any money to them, so I'm just wondering. If they're even gonna participate, I guess.
Well, the 1.2 has already is obligated. We have access to that. It's the question of what happens in the next 6 months determines whether or not we'll get anything beyond that.
But Congress has allocated money for these programs and he's just deleted them and said they're no more. So my question really is that really gonna happen? I mean, because they've appropriated money and Trump says, we're not going through with that program's over, done. We're not funding that. And he's done it over and over and over. So I guess that's my concern.
So
It makes
not-
planning
not-
difficult.
Huh?
It makes planning
I wish
super
I had
difficult.
graphics about what the wing walls were, I don't really, can't visualize exactly what that.
It's the box culvert, it's the 3-sided box culvert with poured in at the time wings that help collect the water.
So it's not a span bridge.
Mm-mm.
Not the mitigation concept that we did with FEMA to get the funds
Yeah.
obligated.
It's still a culvert, it just has
It has wings.
buttresses.
Yeah, I got you. And that's the additional work
That's-
that would take until September to get the bid documents.
Yeah, easily
Yeah.
September.
But doesn't VHP also have the span bridge designed at
The
this point?
span bridge is done and ready to go.
It's
And
ready to go.
90% design, so.
Everything, guys.
why, and so with that doesn't include the wings or the buttresses on that.
No, those don't, that's a part of it.
So why wouldn't we just go up to bid with that?
The big question mark is, will we get reimbursed
Right.
for a big chunk of it?
I know we can get reimbursed for 1.2. I don't know if I'm gonna run the program, I'm gonna run this as my plan was to send it through as an improved project, and that's the question to you, Paul. If I submit the letter to the state requesting to do an improved project, knowing that we at least have 90% of $1.2 million.
Mhm.
And I'm still gonna go through all of the motions that are still available to me to see if our bridge span qualifies for any mitigation dollars through FEMA standards, which is different than what we understand it through working with our engineers. This is actually gonna save us money in the long run by putting a bridge span over it and opening that space up to allow more water flow to go through. I have to figure out how to articulate that, and that's why I like working with VHB, because they help me do it. Because our concern was the bridge itself, or this was what I was told by FEMA, the bridge concept was gonna be more expensive than 50% of the large project in-kind replacement. She thought it was gonna be an $800,000 expense, it's gonna be $2 million to do this whole thing. Then FEMA would say, your project does not qualify for mitigation. That's why we went through that exercise. And if it didn't qualify for mitigation, we're stuck with just the 90% of $1.2 million. And I understood it as, once we were obligated the mitigation money, the FEMA didn't care what project you ultimately
Right,
did.
right.
They were gonna move the money to the state, the state would then work with us on our improved project.
Yeah.
So.
Whether it was $2 million or 1.2 million, yeah.
Yeah, and but we would only get 90 or 75% from the state, or from, sorry, from the federal. For the mitigation project, which would have been on the 1.8.
So you want to go ahead with the improved project?
What I would like to do is I would like to move forward with the improved project. Submit the
Which is the
letter,
bridge,
which is the bridge.
okay, just.
Yep, improved project is the bridge. Our estimate in December of 2023 was 1.6 for that. I've asked VHB to dust those numbers off and see if things have changed. And work with us,
You mean, see how much things have changed.
see how much things have changed, and also to work with us to move the bridge concept through the mitigation realm and see if we can get more money from FEMA to do this project.
Yeah.
Knowing that right now, I can guarantee 90% of $1.2 million for a 1.6 or $1.7 million project. Hopefully track down more funds, but we have to move forward with this project, which, yeah, great, I would have asked this as a ballot question had I known this 2 months ago.
Yeah, sure.
We might have to have a special town meeting to either use our rainy day fund for this essentially an emergency.
Take all of it,
Yeah, good.
wipe it out.
I know. Or just ask another bond question. Knowing that, a large portion of this will get reimbursed. Either it'll be 90% of 1.2 or slightly more. So somewhere around $900,000 up to 1.3.
So is it
0.4.
fair to say, no matter what, we've got 90% of $1.2 million?
Yes, we have
No matter
$900,000
what,
from federal.
whether we
government.
do the span bridge or not, or
Yep.
the box.
Yep.
Or the crappy box culvert like
Yep.
we've been using. I mean, another way, I hate to say this, the other way to look at it is, we're only paying $120,000 to replace something that's gonna fail presumably at some point in the future again. Yeah, our liability is $120,000 for, say, a 10-year deal. And maybe there's FEMA money 10 years from now. We don't know,
Right.
right? I mean, or is
Yeah.
the town on the hook?
You're talking about the box culvert,
Yeah,
okay.
Just replacing like.
Just replacing-
yeah, just like in kind, just say, hey, look, $120,000. That's what we're paying.
Because
and
VHB
we may
could
be
come
good.
back,
We may be good for 5 years, we may be good for 20 years with
Right.
with the same thing that's
Yeah.
there.
but VHB could come back with the improved project plan for the bridge span. And say, oh no, cost of risen now it's 2.5.
That'd be a big.
That'd be a big increase, because I
It was
remember.
2 years ago.
No,
Yeah, how much is
A
steel?
year and a half.
when was,
December 2023, they gave me the 90% design.
was
That's
that
right.
They
when?
were here in October of 2023.
Right, so you're
Really?
year and a
Yeah,
half.
it's been a year and a
so
half.
it's a year and a
Alright,
half.
so it's a year and a half, I mean, okay, so.
No, I ran so fast, so quickly.
That was
FEMA fell
one,
behind me.
that was 1.66.
1.66.
So they could easily be over 2 now.
I mean, yeah, it would probably, even if you escalated 10% a year, that would be.
I mean-
300.
My conversation with Carl was that the type of material needed for this project has not increased significantly. Yeah, I mean, it changes day to day on the steel, but he doesn't think it's gonna be too big of an increase. And then my question is, all right, well, we're gonna run this potential project, this improved project through the mitigation process that I have to do that I was never made aware of. That this has to go through this process. And they can identify, $500,000 of mitigation that's assigned to this bridge span.
Mhm.
Well, that's 500,000 more that gets added to the 1.2. So now it's a $1.7 million project that FEMA sees it as, and they cover 75%, 15% from the state, so. We're on the hook for 90, so we now put in a bridge for 170,000. it all goes to plan versus putting in a box culvert for 120. And the town gets a better product and the potential for the state to take it over because it's now a span.
I mean, that's the best way to go, but we have to basically jump and commit the money before we know we have the approval.
You have the approval for the 900,000.
But the whole thing, I'm saying, like, so we could jump and then still find that we're holding the bag for 500,000 or more.
For, yes, and for 2 years.
That sucks.
So to go back to Tor's point, if we just said, okay, scrap the bridge, let's just put back what we know is gonna fail, because we know it's only $120,000. Still, what's the timeline on that? Right?
No,
I don't know.
When's the
because-
next major storm?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, what's the timeline on that box culvert, right?
Oh,
Wasn't that
the
part
lead
of the,
the lead time on the
the
box.
lead time, yeah, like, what's the, like, is that still like 2 years out
Well,
to start
Does that
construction?
break ground? later
Like,
this
how do we
I-
break ground in
I
time?
have to break ground, the time that we can be in the water, according to environmental protection and from DEP and FEMA.
Right, July through
Is
September. Right?
no. It's the winter time, it's
Oh.
November, late October, through April.
Okay.
Same as the fish ladder,
I mean, I don't,
so
I hate to
it's about fish passage.
Oh, because nothing's spawning.
I hate to be
Right.
short-sighted, but I also hate this, I hate to put the town on the hook for
$500,000
$500 or more $1,000 on something that's a premium project. That 2 years ago, we were thinking that the feds and the state would fund up to 90%. And the dynamics have changed considerably, as we know, in the last 6 months, let alone 2 years. So I think it's a different outlook. And I hate to be conservative, but I'm more of the kick it down the road and hope there's money in the future when it fails again. And, and then beat up the feds and the state on it again, But I'm not optimistic that we're gonna get in this climate. We all know what's going on. And that's why they're shifting seats and there's changing of the guards. And it keeps on getting tighter, that money that gets doled out. And I don't have confidence that we're gonna not be on the hook for the big fee at the end of this. That's just my fear. I'm thinking conservatively.
I don't know what FEMA's disappearing, maybe.
Well, there's that conversation, but I don't know.
I mean, the funding for some projects might not, but
Yeah.
they might too. But if they need
I
a
mean,
big lead time to make that box culvert, then we're looking at not this fall, but probably the following fall to start it.
We don't even know in 2 years if they're like, sorry, guys. Bill's on you. Yeah, it could happen,
Could. I think I'd ask the state to go to court on our behalf, but
Fair enough, because we wouldn't be the only town that is in that situation. However, it's the name of the game these days. I mean, I don't mean to get too deep in the weed here, but you see what's going on.
yay.
Mal, you gonna solve it for us?
Has any thought been given to approaching the senior senator for an earmark?
Not currently.
Plan B
Yeah.
or C?
How much is that worth though? I mean,
But I think that's a long road and I don't think I think we have as much as the gamble.
Well, the congressional discretionary spending applications that came out last year have still not even been reviewed.
I mean, we gotta remember that we went out, what, 2 or 3 years ago? And, when I drive over that thing and I look at the holes, what we did to repair it, and I'm like, this thing's, can I drive? it?
Well,
And that
we
is-
have a problem with the state already,
Yeah,
the inspection.
and that is not a good place to be, so.
I know, and that's why I'm like, am I gonna spend money there to repair the railings and hedge our bets for the next storm. I'm already been told to post the road. More bluntly than we currently have it, because we did when this happened, I recalled, or I wasn't here, but Seth had you guys approve lowering the load on that bridge, so it's low, it's currently at the level at which you can't drive large trucks on during the mud season. Same.
Oh, the same.
23,000 pound limit.
Yeah, that's what's up there now. And I was asking guys from DOT, like, what else can we do? It's like, well, you can put more signs next to the bridge. And Seth's concern with that is, or span, Seth's concern with that was, well, then you got trucks driving all the way down there, and then they're turning around in the neighbor's driveway, or they're just going over it anyway. And I mean, what's gonna happen is either that falls in and somebody is hurt, and that's an issue for us. I can have. There's a dive team that can do these like concrete balloon bags and do one side of it to hold it up. I would support it for a period of time. I mean, if push comes to shove and this federal government's not gonna give us a penny. I would just go the route of spending $20,000 and shoring the thing up and fixing the guardrails. But
We thought about just. With the amount of money we're talking about, we thought about.
Close the
moving-
road.
No, moving the road,
oh,
Moving the road?
moving the road.
How do you move the road?
You put a bypass.
We still gotta get over the.
You still gotta get over it, but you don't have to get over it at the head.
Yeah, but
that's a substantially costlier project.
we know it's.
Potentially, but there's nothing there. We're right at the head of that watershed.
Mhm.
If it was back here, it'd be a different story.
Yeah.
So
I-
I'm just
I-
trying to think
I
out of
got
the
it.
box.
I got, yeah, I think that's.
How much would it
I
cost
think
to,
these are long, I think these are long, long timeline. The answers, I mean, I hate again to go back to the idea of. Let's take what we can get and move on, because I just, yeah, just don't count on anything to be there in the future. I mean, maybe caught, as we just had a conversation tonight about, you know, what if we have to add $500,000 or more to, that's gonna kill roads for that year, pretty much, you know, so. And if the state's gonna take it over, it's their problem,
but
They
they're not
only
gonna
take it over if it's a bridge.
they won't take it over if it's a culvert.
unless it's a bridge.
It has to be the
Has to be the
span,
bridge.
that longer span on a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are culverts, there are minor spans, and technically this is a minor span.
Yeah.
And then the next level is a bridge. Bridges that have enough traffic volume are full, regardless of whether it's on a state road or a town road, are the state's responsibility.
In the volume.
Right, so South Dire Neck Road is an example of, it's got such low volume of traffic that it is our responsibility.
And we don't currently have the wing walls,
No,
so that,
I don't have that designed, is what I'm saying.
right, but. the
Those are
current-
cast in place, so.
Yep. But that would make it a stronger box culvert than what we've got now.
And that
supposedly.
money's obligated.
Right.
That money's been set aside for us already.
Not for the wings.
Yes, for the.
Yes,
Oh, yes, for the wings.
That, I know I have we have $1.8 million
Alright, here's another way to look at it.
with the wing walls.
See what happens in 3 weeks. And let's say the money is, the state works out their differences. Or let's say the petition doesn't go forward. State, we get funded through fiscal year next 2 years with the state. So now we're back to this bond question. Alright, let's say. Let's play conservative and not bond anything this year. Go for the bridge. If we find out a year or 2 years from now. And we have to bond, let's be fair, maybe $1 million that we have to bond on this. To do what we have to do there. At least we have that headroom.
Yep.
In a year or two. to do it, you know, and I think we won't know until the 23rd exactly what the answer is, but yeah,
I hate dilemmas like this.
probably get paid $30.
Yeah.
I just hope what I presented to you helped paint the picture.
No, I got it.
So I
yeah,
really struggled with this.
Obviously.
So we're pretty much, if I'm understanding it correctly, if we don't get shovels in the ground by the end of fall this year, with some kind of, with whatever design that's came up with, we're not gonna see
Anyway,
any money, zero money.
Potentially,
Even if it's allocated at this point, if we don't stick to a schedule.
I have to submit paperwork to FEMA. Requesting an extension, technically this project is done. They're gonna close the books on this project June 2nd. Unless I submit a request. In the past, I had submitted, as this project kept delaying, I kept sending requests to extend it based on where it sat in FEMA's process. This project has been sitting with environmental and historic preservation since September of 2024. I'm requesting an extension while we wait for that. Under past administration, that was an okay reason. I have been informed that my waiting on FEMA is not what the program's intent is, reimbursement for the project. So I have to have done the project or be in the process of doing the project to get the funds obligated. That's the rub. So typically what probably should have happened had I known this. When I met with this board in October of 2023 and I said, let's get the bridge done. VHB did the engineering work, so we've spent $100,000 to get that design done. That's get reimbursed when if we do the bridge project, that'll get reimbursed 90%. They gave us a design in 2023. What I should have done is said, okay, let's get the bid package out and get this project started in fall of 2024. Regardless of how much we knew we were getting from FEMA. That's what I should have done.
But that sounds so risky.
What-
Yeah.
But you don't really, the FEMA program that we're getting reimbursed for, that's the important part here is. You've done the project, you're getting money back.
Yeah.
Just like all of the emergency work we did, all of the repairs we did, we got all that money back, because it was a reimbursement. Remember, it was like 2 months in, we had a special town meeting where we asked to borrow our own money out of our rainy day fund to pay for those repairs that Hagar Enterprise did for us. It was above and beyond anything we had in the budget. Or, we would have had to cancel something. Anyway. That money, I was very easily able to work with Marisol to get our 90% back. That is now sitting in a severe storm account. So we have some money in a severe storm account to address some of this, but not all of it. And that's the risk. It's like, you gotta if you want this fixed, we've limped it along. It is a risk. The DOT has recognized it. We have to address it somehow in some way. Am I saying, are we starting a project in the fall? That's a bridge span. Or am I looking to do a box culvert that might have a long lead time? If it's a 2-year lead time, I still gotta get divers in there and pump that up and protect it, and I have to fix the railings. Like, it's unsafe, and if somebody does get hurt, guess who's liable?
Do we know we don't know that we can get an extension for 2 more years?
I have to say, what I have to do is thank you for rethinking that, because I went off on a tangent. The document that I have to send to the FEMA specifies what our plan is.
Okay.
We are moving forward with our project. It is this. Here are the deadline or the timelines for this project. Please extend our project until
We can request.
May of 2025, when the project will be done. 2026, sorry, May of 2026.
But if
May
it-
of 2025 is almost over.
Yeah, but if it's a box culvert, we may be extending it to May of 2027.
Well, and I need to know what to send on June 2nd, and if that changes, I need to inform them. So if I say we're gonna do a box culvert, we're concerned it won't arrive for this fall, so we have to wait for another fall. I can say that. I don't know if they'll approve it. That's my concern.
I really want the state to take it over.
Right?
But now you're advocating for the thing you just advocated against.
Yeah, no, they got you, that's a different,
How do we determine the lead time on the box culvert? Is that, can we make a phone call tomorrow?
I was just about to back you up.
on the,
I'm sorry.
on the.
No, no,
on the camp-
I can make some calls and find
Me
out.
too. I'm going both ways here. If we could find out what that lead time is, that would better inform our decision. You know, my feeling at this moment, this is subject to change, is if we can't get a box culvert for 2 years, we roll the dice and we do the bridge.
We have a box culvert.
The one that
Apparently.
compromised before?
No. We have a brand new box culvert sitting over in the salt shed.
Yeah, that was the one that was
Nope.
in there before.
No, that's a totally different one.
Where'd that come from?
Talk to the road commissioner.
My theory on the,
I don't think it's big enough, but we have one.
the reason why I vacillated on. My comment before was thinking that the state would take it over if we just did the box culvert. Which would be like, okay, now it's your problem,
Right.
cause this thing's gonna
Yeah.
fail in 5 years,
Right.
and now you have to deal with it.
Right.
That's not the case.
That's
No.
not the case.
That's not the case, so they're gonna say, you know, and we have no better. We don't have a crystal ball to know what's going on.
No,
in
what's the-
5 years.
What's the value over 50 years?
The best value is a bridge, something that lasts,
That we don't have to maintain at all.
at all, yes. That's the best value for the town.
That's a
So-
maybe.
Yeah.
They don't know if
50 years from now, 75 years from now, the bridge starts to rust and needs to be completely replaced.
Yeah, that's the state,
They would own it, they would take care of it,
That's right.
it wouldn't be on.
right?
if
Yeah.
there's enough traffic. We don't
When
know
it
that,
costs $30 million to do it.
I don't think the traffic's going down. do you?
but I don't know if we have enough traffic on that road. I don't think there's no number yet to know if we have enough traffic.
I don't
on
think
that road.
the number's ever been captured on that road.
Right.
So I don't know.
Do we know what the number is?
That they require.
200, I'll have to look. I looked it up 2 years ago.
I'll try
And
5 times.
I was
the
gonna
same
say,
day.
I'll
We'll
just
try.
do laps.
We'll do
I
laps.
mean, We'll just
You
get,
guys
we'll
will do
have a
laps too,
parade,
right?
it'll be great, we'll put a taco truck down there, so people are, you know. I mean,
You can ask Mallory to open up shop down.
yeah, exactly.
The only other thing, I'm arguing against myself, the only other thing I'm considering here is. Putting the next people sitting in the seat 5-10 years down the road in this position too, where it's just another. Thing that somebody else didn't solve.
Right.
As was the board 10 years ago or whoever, you know.
Well, they did solve it because they
They
didn't
did.
realize,
They did what they thought.
they did what they thought was right.
I'm just saying.
We've been screwed twice on this.
Yeah.
We've been told twice, this is the solution,
This is the solution, yeah.
and it's failed twice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was here for both of
So
now
you're not
also-
going
right.
them. Oh, yeah. I should recuse myself from this, I failed twice.
Mike, do you have the solution?
Well, this helps with a little bit of history. Almost exactly the same thing happened on Station Road over the Marsh River back in 2007. It had a standard, cast iron, whatever you make, whatever those standard culverts are made of. It failed, and it was replaced with a box culvert with wings. That's held up ever since. That is, it was done by Hanley Construction.
But it's a-
They're still in business.
Yeah.
Back in 2007,
I think I think it was 2007.
somewhere.
Remember looking at the pictures in the historical.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are pictures of replacing the
Right.
culvert with a box culvert with
Okay.
wings.
The flows
Yeah.
through there are nowhere near the same volume as. the
Yeah,
flows through.
Yeah. It has held up well, but it's, but that is
Yeah.
a model by which you would compare.
Yeah, the wing wall project would still be our responsibility.
Right.
Yeah, this is about that.
And the purpose of the wing walls is really just to try and prevent side bank erosion.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
But depending on the volume of water that comes around or through, it can
And
get
you go
around
around
that.
and erode
Without the sides.
further,
Yes.
yes.
There's no amount of wing wall you can go.
Right, right.
you get enough water going through, it'll go to the bottom.
Yes, way all the way around.
You don't know until it's too late.
We had so much conversation about this very topic, right? I mean, we spent many meetings discussing the best way to go about this. The bridge is the best way. to
That
go.
hasn't changed.
That has not changed. So why, other than the fact that we could be on the hook for cost overruns, like, that's the only thing that's changed,
It's the money.
is the money. As previously noted in this meeting, nothing is getting cheaper and it never will. So do we do future us a solid right now and say, costs be damned, we're gonna put in a bridge because it's the right thing to do? Or do we say, screw you guys,
Well, we
We'll go
can,
the cheap
we
route.
can.
We're gonna go the
guarantee-
cheap route.
We can guarantee that it's gonna get washed out again.
we can
don't-
guarantee it's gonna get
you don't
washed out
know
again,
when.
and when it does, it's gonna be that much more expensive. to
Guarantee
replace.
it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
And who knows what funding will be available.
Yeah, my argument would be under the current state we're in, there is gonna be.
There's gonna be less funding, and we don't know when that event is gonna take place. We might all still be in this room. It could happen next year. Like, we could
It
install
can
that
happen the
thing.
week after it gets
Exactly,
installed.
that's what I'm saying.
Nobody thought the back parking lot would flood 3 times in 3 weeks.
Right.
Ever. So, I just counted, there's 13 residences. After the failed culvert, before the town line.
Do you wanna annex that or the?
I'm just saying, if we're all options on the table. One of the options, unpopular as it may be, is to spend
Just 'cause you don't know.
$0. Close the bridge and tell
Yeah.
those 13 residents they gotta go out Dodge Road.
Sure. And it's absolutely not cheap.
Not a popular one,
No.
not what I'm suggesting, but
Well,
I
no,
am
but you
putting
did,
it out
but you
there
did, you suggested it.
because we're going to talk about every possible option.
Yeah,
Eric's definitely gonna take this syrup back.
yeah.
Well, no, he's there. He's on the other end. He's on the other
Oh,
side.
he's on, that's right,
He's all
on the
good.
town side, yeah. Uh,
It's gonna make his commute to his work longer.
Yeah, that's, I don't think that's. It is, but we have to pay, but we still have to pay to remove it and then repair the,
Right, we can't just let it crumble.
yeah, so we're gonna.
There's still a cost in
We're
it.
gonna, there's gonna be a cost.
There's still a cost.
Yeah, so that's probably the difference of the bridge right there, so.
I think maybe, based on what you just said, and I'm not listening to what you just went back on, I'm going back to what you originally advocated for. Maybe the thing to do is, go for the bridge and just start saving money.
Well, and hope that we can get reimbursement. For the
And
whole
follow
thing.
all paths, obviously, follow all paths, but just literally start saving money right now. As best we can, because, you know, we don't know. If we do that, it's literally going to take all of our, I can't believe we'll be back in this position. It'll take the whole undesignated fund balance, all of it. It'll be gone.
Or it will be another bond,
Or it'll be another bond. But I
which,
mean,
which
well,
for that project it would actually make sense. to
but if we
bond
gotta get
that.
shovels in the ground by the fall. I mean, yes, we'd have to have another special town meeting, so juggle all of our priorities.
Yes,
I would still argue, even if you were to go bleed your savings account, you would still wanna have support from the community, so.
Of course, absolutely. No, it's a special town meeting, regardless, we're gonna spend money, you can't spend $1 without permission.
So we would have to front all of the money. If it's a bridge, say it's $1.9 million, we have to front the whole thing.
We have to front the whole thing no matter what,
But
either scenario.
But it doesn't mean that you can't take a loan and pay it all too,
True.
so.
Yeah,
We don't have
2
to,
years.
yeah, we could. I mean, for the interest on $2 million for a couple of years, that's not much, so.
Let's go,
And then-
let's go for the bridge.
That's what I think.
Let's go for the bridge.
It was the right choice.
It is the
when,
right choice.
When most of the money was there, it is still the right choice. It is just potentially more expensive.
Well, it's
Well-
definitely more.
But not more expensive than replacing what we just replaced 5 years from now.
If there's a path, even if it's more expensive, if there's a path for the state to take it, we should take
We
it.
should, yes,
That's for sure.
Yeah,
And that was the decision, this November or October meeting, 2023.
so I,
Anything's
and I,
really
and I
changed.
think that was your feeling going into this meeting tonight wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
was where I was trying to get. I just want to be very clear with you and thank you for kind of sounding this out. Helps.
I feel like we beat ourselves up and I beat myself up in the middle of it.
Okay, then, do I have a motion to authorize the town manager to contract with BHB to update the 90% design cost sheet and bid specs for a fall 2025 project start?
yeah, I'll move that.
By Rufus, seconded by Ben. Any other discussion? All in favor
And this is
Alright.
like a $4 or $5,000 to do that.
to update everything?
Yeah.
All right, and then.
We got one more. Hold on.
Oh,
a minute.
more.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm very glad to see that you're not against gambling.
Oh, that's awesome.
At this point, the amount of time and thought we put into it, it's not gambling. It's risk management
Right,
and
right.
owning up to your responsibility.
Yeah. And do I also have a motion to authorize the town manager to submit an improved project plan to FEMA?
Can I ask you to modify that?
Can I modify it? Yes.
Yeah, the document I handed out to you has a suggestion from gentleman from FEMA that says,
Oh,
move forward the bridge. This will be an improved project.
Right.
So it is, yeah,
okay.
this is fine.
To authorize the town manager to submit an approved project plan to FEMA.
Recognizing that it will be capped,
So
just making sure.
Yep.
Second,
Seconded by Rufus. Any other discussion? All in favor? All right, we're not rolling the dice. No, We're
Risk managing.
keep fingers crossed with our risk management decision here.
Well, and I appreciate those motions because, you know, when the target's on me.
Yeah, no,
You can blame us.
Yeah.
you
Wow.
blame us. Okay, this one was much faster discussion. Road discontinued, 5D.
We're
let's
saving,
do it. Done. Move on.
we're saving money here.
Yeah,
You don't have a bridge on that road, do you there?
Got some potholes.
got some potholes, yeah.
Please, can I fix my
Can I fix my potholes in my ditch?
all right, so essentially this is just that we've got the map.
Yeah, it's
There's-
just, the questions I have is, I mean, do you agree that all butters have access to River Road? You know, one abutter has a split on either side of it. And so the question is public easement, like, these are the questions that are gonna come out of
So
this.
Rufus, you would need to get an easement from them, then, yeah?
No,
I would need to grant them an easement.
Which lot are you
No, you
talking
don't,
about?
but it looks like you're gonna be crossing,
Their
009.
you would need to get an easement,
Oh, from them,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
or
or curve the road right up to,
you keep a public easement on that portion.
then we still have to plow it and everything.
No, you don't.
Oh, we don't. Okay.
No, we just maintain the easement.
Oh, that's easier.
And that's I mean, if you don't make a if you make a decision, we don't wanna keep an easement, that you have to publicly say. If you wanna keep an easement, you don't have to do anything else. on the
Well-
state statute.
You know, I wish Peter was here to talk about this because we've had conversations in the past about road discontinuances and he's always advocated. For the town to keep the easement.
Yep.
Always, in all cases. Across the board.
Yeah, never give up anything.
Never give up anything unless you absolutely have to.
So that would solve then your problem. You'd be fine. Al?
There's reference to utility easements being needed also.
Yeah.
Do the utilities run down the road or straight in from the River Road,
They run down.
down the road?
Yeah.
They actually run. Yes, no, they run down the road. Yes,
Oh, probably because they were down the road anyway when
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
actually River Road.
exactly.
Okay,
1970.
But then there's
Yeah.
also, there are other lines that run through my neighbor's property out to one.
Yeah, are you sure about that? I think if it's a discontinuance, you have to, and there's built infrastructure, you have to maintain
The
the
easements.
public easement, but if you keep it as.
The only
As an
utility
easement, you don't have to.
that runs down that road is to my house.
Yeah.
There's nothing going through.
No,
Okay.
true. I'm just saying, like, if it's no longer the town's road at all. Then an easement has to be maintained for
For the utilities.
for the utilities, 100%. But if we maintain the easement, there's no difference than if it's a public way. We don't have to maintain a public easement, it's inherent
Okay,
in the nature of it, I guess is.
And is there,
Does that make
One
sense?
way that there wouldn't be an easement, a utility easement as is if they're currently living inside of the road limits. They aren't inside of road limits, then they require a separate easement.
And that's a situation that's happened now on Route 1, where there's telephone line or utility lines that run. It used to be where Route 1 was, over by Mr. Mike's. Or
oh, on the,
that.
oh, that little
Yes.
section, yeah.
Now, CMP was on me this past summer about trying to figure out where they had access and rights to go there, and the property owner over there has scared them off a few times, so. I don't know how this plays out, so
I
this,
know what you're talking about now.
Cause if like say CMP. Everything that runs down, almost everything that runs down Route 1, they're living inside of the states right away.
Mhm.
Which is all well and good.
Mhm.
If they don't have a separate easement, if they didn't have a separate easement when that was River Road.
Mhm.
Then they are living outside of the
Is it-
states right away,
Mhm.
and they have to find a different means for an easement, which would mean either the town or
the
The
property,
property owner, right?
how would you love it if your property owner next door said? No more have a utility pole there.
right,
So there's no downside for the town in retaining an easement.
No.
Okay. sounds
Unless
easy
you
enough
can
then.
It's on a
identify.
town
owners.
no, I have no problem with that, I just literally just wanna fix. my driveway. Like,
Yeah.
that's how this conversation started, I'm just like,
Well, it really is a driveway.
it's a driveway.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't get me wrong, I love not having to get up and plow my own driveway, and getting it sanded to boot is pretty awesome, but. I feel a little like I'm taking advantage, and I, there's ditching that needs to happen, and there's potholes, and there's no way that this is a priority on our.
Yeah.
Exorbitant roads budget, and I wouldn't want it to be a priority, it doesn't make any sense, this is all work I can do, I just need the blessing to do it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, that's,
All right, so next steps then, letters, and we have to have a meeting.
I've drafted the letters, I drafted a letter, so we're gonna keep the easement, just make it easier than having to do
Yeah.
anything that. So when do you wanna have the meeting with the abutters? I mentioned in here, I did find out that the state statute specifically says this can only be addressed at an annual town meeting if that's our legislative body. So unfortunately, it has to wait until next June.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah, it can't be done in a special town meeting, it's explicitly written in the law.
Is
It's an
that-
annual town
that's
For town
all
meeting
dis-
towns.
That's all discontinuances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun stuff, right? I thought we could address this in like September and just get it done, but this is something that we'll have to drag out a whole nother year.
Somebody pooched it when they wrote that law.
You can always talk to your legislators and see if they'd modify them.
Add a word, please.
Not before next June, so.
No.
So we don't need to jump on having this meeting immediately.
Correct, but I don't wanna lose sight.
Right.
So. The one abutter. That property is under contract and will be sold.
Mhm.
I believe closing is like June 1st, so. Not before that, perhaps.
So, that's fine, but another way that we can, if it has to be next June, it has to be next June. just close your ears for a second, go la 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 la.
Yeah,
We can, the board can enter into a consent agreement, about maintenance of the road with the property owner to enable the property owner to take on responsibility of the maintenance until a road is discontinued,
Okay.
formally. And we can put a time limit on it or whatever like that, but we have that ability to do it so that the property owner can address the conditions that they want to address without encumbering the town and the public works department to do it. They want to take that on, so. It'd have to be a unanimous vote minus the one member, but we could do that. We could ask Peter to draft this.
Yeah,
A simple letter.
Yep.
That's not
great.
smart.
That'd be good. Let's take it then.
Okay.
What else?
So how soon do you want to have the meeting to just
Not until,
July,
Well,
August?
did the law indicate that it had to be within a certain proximity to the actual vote at annual town meeting?
No,
No.
no. So I could get this done and it's just something that doesn't, it just gets set on a shelf until next town meeting and just get added as a question. There has to be a public hearing in addition to you having a meeting, then setting the public meeting with the abutters, then a public hearing, and then you can put it up on the next warrant, the next annual town meeting warrant.
So, I mean, June and July are pretty full. If there's no time, if
Right.
there's no crunch, town attorney can get going on crafting the consent agreement and we can have the abutters meeting in, September
Okay,
That's it. When things have cooled a little bit
hopefully.
and we're not back in budget season.
Right, well, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Right.
Trying to cram too much in the January, February timeframe.
Mhm.
Thank you.
all right. So we don't need to vote on that. We have no new business, fiscal warrants. Do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 25th AP warrant for $265,369.61.
So move.
Moved by Ben, seconded by Tor. Does anyone have any questions? on it?
Yeah, did you replace a faucet?
Yes, I did.
What happened?
The kitchen sink faucet, just the part of the underside of it just was leaking and I wasn't gonna replace the gaskets. I wasn't gonna spend 4 hours fixing something that took me 15 minutes.
Okay. So we'll just
Wait,
have
so
plumber
how
on
many
fall.
are Code enforcement officer.
That's what I was gonna
Plumber.
say. We're gonna add some titles.
Plumber,
Yeah,
okay,
plumber.
I'm also your EMA director, by the way.
there's that, yeah.
We need to put, like, do you have a plaque? Make it
No.
be bigger.
Yeah. Back to all of you.
I I was just curious, what did Proc tackle?
Excuse me?
What did Kensel
I think it's
tackle?
this building.
Oh, was
Um,
it the
Frog
here?
Brothers.
Or is it?
Kensel was doing cleaning up the gutters and doing some repairs around the town office.
Oh, okay, but not the chimney yet.
I have struggled really hard to find somebody. It's gotta be a mason. The problem is that that is the vent for our boiler that's in the building, which we're using, but not a lot. It's more of a backup. When it's really cold, the building, even with the heat pumps, is not, the floor is extremely cold. So it's an issue of, okay, let's burn a little fuel oil just to get our feet warm.
Yeah.
So it is still used. It's also used for the hot water. And so it does need to vent through that chimney. So I have to fix the chimney. I am struggling to find a mason. So if anybody knows a good mason, have them give me a call at town office.
Put the call out to the general public, maybe somebody knows and. can give
Yeah.
me a Call.
But yes, the faucet kicked the bucket and I just ran over to,
So your masonry skills aren't good?
That's what he's saying.
no, they're fine. I'm better at taking chimneys out than putting them back in.
Did anyone have any other questions about the warrant? Then all in favor? It passes 5-0. All right, I think that brings us
Yes.
to
I do.
you, Kevin. Town manager report.
Yeah, I just, quick one because I did so much on the update, so much time on the updates. Trevor Hanna is our intern working with us this summer. He's through the program at the University of Maine's Margaret Chase Smith Policy Center. He started with us today, so he came in, I gave him sort of the quick tutorial, and then he had to go to an onboarding thing in Augusta. So he's at an onboarding thing again tomorrow, and then he's with us till Thursday. Well, summer, temporary.
4 days a week.
Yep, he'll be in 4 days a week, standard hours. I have a whole bunch of in-house cleanup projects for him, but I do intend to engage him with the board and some other community projects.
Does he have any masonry skills?
I don't know, but he's from Bath, so
Seems like good
Oh,
intern.
definitely, yeah.
yeah. I mean, he's got at least maybe some welding skills at Bath Ironworks or anything. I don't know.
Awesome,
Good question. I'll ask him on Thursday. Cool.
that's exciting.
And then the other thing is we're just still collecting some survey responses for the town logo. We intend to do a public communication piece as part of the annual town meeting. Cool.
Okay,
just-
have you gotten fair amount of responses?
Yeah,
Good.
don't ask me how many,
But-
Sam knows that, I don't, and I neglected to ask her today before the meeting, but.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm probably up over 100.
Good.
Wow.
Excellent, that's great.
That's cool.
That's good.
That's
And
very cool.
anyone else, if they want to get on there and do it and they haven't, go for it.
Please do.
We'd love it. All right. That's it.
9 o'clock.
Then with 9, without objection, then we will adjourn at 9:06.